Joined here today with Jonathan Moon, our reliability and automation consultant from Northeast Florida. And he has a really interesting project that he wanted to share with us with US Gypsum. So, Jonathan, could you tell us a little bit about that project?
Yeah, absolutely. Nate, thanks for putting this together. I was called in to US Gypsum in Jacksonville as they were working on a compressed air audit at their facility. Um, Electrical expenses have been getting very high. Kilowatt per hour rates are high. So customers are looking at ways to reduce their energy costs across the board. And one major way is to reduce compressed air and compressors running a lot. We were able to do an audit on some of their dust collectors to look at their pulse valves that use diaphragm technology, and that they have air lines running to those diaphragms, all creating leak points where compressed air can leak out, not being used for the application, and basically putting too much undue stress on compressors. So we were able to audit a few of those bag houses for them, and look at their flow time on these applications, and compare that to the flow time of a MAC valve, which is a different technology. It uses it uses a spool instead of a diaphragm. So you get a more efficient pulse. It uses the compressed air more efficiently, and it eliminates a lot of leak points. So you're able to keep compressed air in the system instead of having to constantly create that compressed air to make up for the loss. And then you're also able to use that compressed air more efficiently to clean your bags and to reintroduce product into your process as well.
And, Jonathan, real quick, how do you actually go about performing an audit? Like, what does that actually look like? How do you go about that? And then what is the result that you're reviewing with the customer? Could you just explain that a little bit?
Yeah, good question. It's a very unintrusive process. Usually 10, 15 minutes, depending on the access to the dust collector. We can look at the dust collector, analyze the valves that are currently on the unit, look for existing leak points in the line, and if there's a sample diaphragm, look for cracks in that diaphragm. And then we also take a video of the valves pulsing and put that into a spectrograph. So I'm able to measure the actual flow time of that valve, which is separate than the electrical on time of that valve, which usually is what customers sometimes use to gauge flow time. But we're actually looking at the flow time that's flowing through that valve, and that's how we compare that to the MAC valve. So within 15, 20 minutes, I'm able to get all that information, work with the customer on their current kilowatt per hour rating, their labor rates, their operating time, and put that into a calculator that we use from the Mac Distributors Network to calculate a proposed ROI for the customer.
Because the idea there, and I just want to make sure I understand, is that you're going to save on energy, but can you explain a little bit about why the hourly rate is factored in there? How do you guys think about that in terms of replacing valves, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. The diaphragm in the historical technology is a wearable item. So the first pulse of that diaphragm versus the 10,000th pulse of that diaphragm is going to be different because it wears and it stresses and it cracks. Same with the spring that's in there. So that'll wear and eventually fail. So you'll have to have a maintenance tech go up to replace that diaphragm, which could be an arduous process if the dust collector is hard to reach. The bolts are stripped, things of that nature. They'll have to take the top off, replace that diaphragm, put it on, and then also the solenoid that's used could get some dirt ingress and cause a failure as well. We with the Mac valve, the spool is not a wearable, so our first pulse is going to be the same as our 10,000th pulse. So we see a lot less failures. So you are able to account for maintenance savings as well.
So you're not only saving on energy usage, but then you're also able to save on labor because they don't have to be replaced, as often, right?
Exactly right.
So you do the audit, you have this information. Now you start to calculate the ROI using the tools provided by MDN. Now, what's the conversation like with the customer? What are the next steps? How do you move this project forward?
Yeah, we generally will put together a presentation with that proposed ROI and a quote, and then generally send that over to the customer for them to get approval from their management. The retrofit and install of these are very straightforward. So once the customer moves forward, there's a transition plate that sits directly on top of their valve. So the install is generally, maybe 20 minutes for the 30 minutes for the first one. But generally after that, we say it's about 10 to 15 minute install per valve because it's a very easy process. So yeah, it moves after that ends the survey and the ROI portion. It generally moves pretty quick from theory to
Application.
yeah.
So in this particular instance, was there one baghouse or were there many baghouses?
This is a gypsum plant, so they have many baghouses. So we've started on 3 applications, but right now we're working on currently somewhere between 8 and 10 more
Oh,
applications.
wow. That's awesome. No, that's great. And I know obviously there are cost savings associated with switching to Mac valves, like you described, energy savings, also labor. But this one's particularly interesting, right? Because there's an added layer from a cost saving standpoint that I know you wanted to talk about today. Can you share a little bit about that program?
Yeah, absolutely. So Adams has become a trade ally with JEA, the Jacksonville Electric Authority. JEA offers rebate programs to commercial customers who are looking to have efficiency projects around energy savings. So think LED lighting, HVAC savings, things of that nature. There's also a custom program for compressor efficiency that we were able to take advantage of in this situation. So we actually work with JEA at their power generation stations to upgrade their pulse valves on things such as fly ash bag houses and things like that. So we were able to become a trade ally with them and take advantage of these rebate programs. So we were able to go through that process with JEA and help the customer offset their costs of these pulse valves by showing the savings that these valves create.
That's awesome. And then this is just for the Jacksonville area. What's the geography in which a customer needs to be to take advantage of this?
For this application, it's Duval County.
Okay.
Anybody that is serviced by JEA Jacksonville Electric Authority, and there's a few power generation stations that cover that general area, but this would be for Duval County.
Okay, so if we have a customer out there that's in Duval County, and they're thinking that maybe this could be a fit for them, what would you suggest they do as next steps?
Yeah, they could reach out to myself. I'm local to Jacksonville, so we can put my email and cell phone number in this post, and they could reach out to me directly, or just reach out to the Adams main office, and whoever they get in contact with their inside sales or customer service can get in contact with me, so I can reach out to them. But that would be the first step, getting in contact with me. Or they can visit the JEA Business Trade Allies website, and our information is on there as well.
Okay.
And reach out to us, and we can schedule a initial meeting and survey for them.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to see that the technology itself can save the customer money, but then also there's a rebate program in place that can help the customer offset the cost of putting in hardware that would ultimately save them money anyway. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty sweet situation to be in. And you've already gone through the process, right? Adams is a vetted partner, so that's great. And like you said, you're local, so you can go over there, you can audit their current situation and see how we might be able to help them, and then also how they might be able to take advantage of the program. So this is super cool.
Yeah, it's a great program by JEA that the customer was able to take advantage of, and we appreciate the JEA team that worked with us to make these savings happen. But not only was the customer able to see savings on the energy side, but also it was very cool to see them get that cost offset on the investment of the solution. So
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for sharing, and hopefully some additional customers in Duval County can take advantage of the program.
yeah, absolutely, Nate. Thanks for having me.